This one is called the pants. Take 8.
It's working.
It's working.
It's working.
This is a special backseat episode of Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed.
That's right.
I'm Darrell.
And I'm Ed.
And
we have
Stephanie.
Havelka.
Yes, who is the founder and innovator of Sportkini, which we have talked about quite a bit on our show.
Yes, and which Darrell and Ed had the pleasure of inspecting the Sportkini plant today.
That's right. Fantastic.
But most of all, we had a great talk right
Yes.
before we were taping this about...
I was going to say, Stephanie has given us some of our best material for the show of late because of the way she applies all the principles that we have been talking about on the show.
Yeah, and that was the best talk because Stephanie was just telling us the story we wanted her to share with you.
Yes.
About how listening to your gut is really the best business advisor you could ever ask for.
That's right, because if God says, walk this way...
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. You better walk this way. So, Stephanie.
Yes.
We know you were at an event.
Yes.
And what's the big word you use? Congruent.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, if it's not congruent,
Yes.
it's okay to tuck and roll to save your soul.
That's right.
So why don't you
that.
share that story?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I realized I was not congruent, but it took all day long for me to figure it out. And what it was this feeling up inside myself, down in the pit of my stomach, that something just wasn't right. And it got louder and worse as the day went on.
Now let me say, this was related to your business, right? The whole event was geared towards you, helping you develop your business, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I love this group that I was with, and at the same time, though, it was not the place for me. It was just that simple. I could feel it riding up and down. And by the end of the day, I just knew, oh my gosh, this is not congruent with me. It's not in alignment with me for today. And the following day, I made a different decision. I decided to follow my intuition, and I had a completely different result. So it was very obvious, the overriding my intuition's result,
right,
how I felt, and then the opposite, which was when I followed my intuition, the result I got from that day. It was completely so obvious, and it was amazing to see.
And let's hear about I know the day you decided not to go back.
Which is hard to do.
Which is really hard to do.
Because
sometimes.
I would start thinking, well, they were kind enough to want me in this group.
Yeah, and I committed to this.
I committed, and if I want to show that I'm a serious business person, I better not show up. What are they going to think of me? They're going to think I'm not serious about my...
Yeah. All that stuff that's about approval from other people.
Rejection.
Anytime, I was talking with my wife about this, anytime it feels like I'm thinking for someone else about me, that is so debilitating. That is such a debilitating, and it always feels terrible. But it can also seem really real and justified.
Well, and that type of thinking is always me overriding what my innocent little, what God is saying. No, you shouldn't go there. And then I'm trying to override it with what I think other people will think of me.
Right.
So then I'm trying to force myself to do something that already is feeling bad.
Yeah.
And I'm not even using positive reinforcement. I'm using people thinking badly about me to try to make me do something that's not going to make me feel good either.
Right.
Yeah. It snowballs. It turns into this snowball effect.
We forget that we're supposed to feel good in life. We forget that that's the indicator that we're on the right track sometimes. Because if I act out of fear and feeling bad long enough, I think that that's the way it's supposed to be, and I forget that that is not the way life is designed.
Well, the exciting thing is the next day when you did not go, where you said, all right, I can't do this again.
Right.
It's too awful, and you tucked and roll to save your soul.
Yes.
But
I did.
but what happened was even more amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. There were a couple things that happened. One, I was able to dive into a project that really needed to get done, and I had so much clarity, and I was so productive, and I got it all done in time. And on the side of that, I got a hunch to go down to the next town over for me and go into a shop that has been selling some of my items, but they haven't had any new items lately. And I brought my new items, which I happen to have one of them with me, into the store. And she was so happy I stopped by. Her and I had the most amazing conversation. She's carrying the garments. And so it kind of snowballed into the next. I stayed with the flow that day. And then I stopped in very impromptu at another shop. And they were so excited that I stopped in. and that I had this garment for them, although they thought I was there specifically to sell my swimsuits. But when we figured out that I wasn't there for that, I was there on a completely different mission, they were so excited.
Was this the lady who told you we don't carry your swims? We don't want swimsuits?
Yeah.
And then, but see, that's another time when you stepped out boldly instead of saying, "Oh, I better
scurry out of here."
Yeah, they're rejecting me.
I won't even show them my hoodie I created.
Yeah, because when you told me the way, you sounded bold and confident and joyful when you said when you told her.
I said, no, I'm not here for you to sell my swimsuits at all. That's not why I stopped by. I stopped by because I've created other garments for our target market, and I know this is a good fit. So I wanted to come in and actually give you, first view. What do you think? And she was so excited.
That's so cool.
It kind of lifted the pressure off.
Yeah.
Right? So she's thinking I'm there for something that I'm not, and I was very genuine and honest because that's why I was there.
Yeah,
Right.
see?
Yeah.
When we're true to ourselves, I don't feel anything uncomfortable.
Yes.
And I don't feel like I'm doing the thing like another thing is like, really psych yourself up before you go in there.
Yeah.
So then you can tell none of that works if you're just true to yourself.
And we were talking at the table before we did this episode about, like, for all of us, but a lot of our lives, we got into the thinking that we don't know anything, and then when I'm feeling like that, it's easy to get this high, like, oh, I'm gonna bring in all these other people that are gonna help me and save me, and there's a little high attached to it, so it can seem like it's the right thing to do, but underneath it, a lot of times there's this, someone now is gonna save me, and that's where the high is coming from, but that never ends up giving me that powerful, loving, joyful, free feeling that I want.
Diminishes.
It just reinforces that I can never do this on my own, that I should never trust, that I can't trust myself.
That's right.
And these little voices, these little hunches, and that's what we talk about. That's why the show is whenever we step out boldly, better than expected outcomes.
Yes.
It doesn't mean step out with bravado.
That's right.
It means step out with humility and trust that voice.
Yes.
And it means stepping out with faith that, okay, I've had this hunch. It feels right. I'm a little nervous, but you know what? I'm going to trust it. And every time we do, because if you sat through that second day, you wouldn't have felt any better than you did the first day. And you wouldn't have experienced all the things you experienced. And one thing
which are real steps toward your business, which is what that whole thing was supposed to be about anyway.
So actually, it was a good thing that you went the first day. Because then you would have never learned this. So it was worth the money to go.
It was worth everything, all the way around. I learned so much about myself. I also got to be around the group, which I thoroughly enjoy, everyone in the group. And it was so poignant. It was such a learning curve for me, and I'm so happy that it turned out the way that it did. I needed that contrast. I needed that feel yuck and to be so obvious that I was overriding it. I needed to feel that so that I can, that from here forward, that it's that obvious and it's that simple, right? I can actually fine-tune myself now to pay much more attention to that instead of doing the old habit of overriding. And when I override, I react. I'm spending my life reacting to things because I'm in such a yuck place, and then that becomes a comfort zone.
Well, and then we think
and
then I think I need more
snowballing
help. And
again.
you know, it's amazing. We don't even know why we're getting the signals, because just the same week I got a call for an audition, right? I got a call for an audition. I was telling it, I just don't want to go to this audition. It just didn't feel right. It felt like it was going to be just a horrendous thing. I don't know why I was feeling that. But I knew I had to tell them the day of, so I'm not like a last minute or just avoiding it. But I still had a little, well, maybe you should. You know, you don't want to let them down. You might not get any more, blah, blah, blah. Finally, I called and said, simply, I can't make it. Sorry, I can't be available that day.
I think you even mentioned you were working that day because we were doing a bunch of stuff for the show that day.
Yes, but I didn't even have to put that in the envelope. I just said, in the email. I just said,
I see.
Sorry, I'm unavailable to do it this day, right?
Right.
Well, the very next day, it turned out that I wasn't available, and I didn't even realize it because my dog needed to be taken to the vet at that exact time that I would have been at the audition. And if my dog was sick and I was doing that audition out of that sense of lack. Like, if I don't take this, I'm going to lose an opportunity. Then I would have been grumpy and been complaining to Lori, why can you come take the dog? It would have just been this horrible thing. Instead, it became this enlightening thing. And then it gets better, even more reassurance. Today, when I dropped off Lori at the airport to go on our flight for a photo shoot in Utah this weekend, turns out her airline just happened to be Delta, which is what that commercial was for. It was just, I love seeing every little sign that God puts to reassure me that even before, sometimes we don't know why we feel uncomfortable, but it's just another evidence that I wasn't supposed to be there. And I feel totally empowered. I don't feel like, ooh, maybe you did screw up. I feel like, no, I say no to what doesn't fit so God can give me what really fits.
Oh, that empowered piece is huge.
Oh,
what a difference in my self-worth, self-esteem, and self-confidence between that self-trust of knowing this is good for me, and also overriding it, and this is not good for me. I mean, these are two completely different experiences of life.
And the rewards whenever we just go with it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
When we follow fear, then we really do stop knowing which way to go, because we get disconnected. I get disconnected from myself.
I move into my head.
And then I get tempted to make it look like I'm still connected when I'm not really connected, and it gets snowballs in that negative direction. But like when we follow our gut, our intuition, our feelings, like you said, when we're God guided, and we know we're God guided, when we're taking the guidance that God is giving us, we always know. Because I was watching you talk, and I was feeling what you were saying at that moment when we were in the coffee shop just a moment ago, the conservatory right behind us. The power that came through you when you said, I always know. When I'm God guided and when I'm following that God guidance, I always know. And that
we
is
all
the best
always
feeling.
know. And we always know when we're not. But we don't recognize it sometimes because we're so used to justifying.
Justifying, busy, forcing. Like there's all kinds of ways to define that and what it really looks like.
We'd rather celebrate and share out of joy and laugh, and that's what happens when we follow our God guidance.
I'd rather have a snowball go in the other direction.
Yeah,
which it does.
A free-flowing snowball.
Yes. All right. So, anything else?
Well, no, I can't think of another thing except to say thanks, and we're grateful we got to meet Mr.
Who's now sleeping down
here. Who's now taking a nap.
I'm glad we got to tour the plant.
That's right.
Yeah, that was a great idea, Harry. We found some other miscellaneous items laying around.
More Sportkini stuff, and you could go to www.sportkini.com, correct?
Yeah, that's right. We're in a growth spurt, so keep watching us.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, if I could wear one of those bikinis when I was surfing, well, I guess I could. Well, I'm not quite there yet in my development, but they're beautiful is what I'm trying to say. I love the colors and the designs, and it's awesome.
And the hoodies are great too.
Yes, very pretty.
Fantastic.
But most of all, thank you for joining us for a Backseat episode of Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed.
Yeah.
And you can find us on iTunes.
Yep, or you go every week, Wednesday, 5 p.m. Central Time. Whatever, 3 p.m. on the Pacific, 6 p.m. on the East. Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed. It's traditionally a radio show, online radio show, but we do love to do these little...
On Unity?
Online radio, that's right.
Unity.fm.
Yep, so anyway.
Darrell and I love you.
Yes, we do.
And so does Stephanie.
That's right. Oh yeah, what about making comments? If you like our show, if you subscribe on iTunes, make comments, because more people will get to listen to the show.
That's right. Other people that like the same type of shows that you enjoy will discover our show.
And I think the same is true for YouTube as well. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe, make a comment. That will also help more people.
Yes.
All right.
Sounds good.
Darrell, Ed, and...
Nice meeting everybody. Stephanie.
Love you. And so does Mr. Loves you enough that he went right to sleep. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to The Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed. Listen in every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Central as these unlikely saints share more real-life stories of how surrendering to divine order always leads to better-than-expected outcomes. This program has been made possible by God through automated monthly transfers from Darrell and Ed's credit cards.
You've been hit by calculus and